Hi, Moonhackers. Welcome to our code along for the Moonhack project, Water Adventures. This project is an animation that shares the water cycle. This is part of everything that we learn in school, and we encourage you to get more creative and innovative towards the end of the project. The Water Adventure project is going to tell the story of our raindrop, who floats along the river, gets evaporated up into the sky, meets up with his friends to form the clouds, and then rains down. Once you've accessed the starter code, let's jump inside or remix the project, ready for you to start coding. Don't forget to change the name to make it something that you will remember. We can see in our project that we have 4 different sprites here. The raindrop, who is the hero of our project, our turtle, who's floating in the ocean, the clouds that will come across the sky and change colour to show that they're getting darker, ready to rain. There's also a rubbish sprite that we don't actually use in this project, but it's encouraged for you to continue working. Let's begin with our turtle sprite. For our turtle, we want it that when the green flag is clicked, it's going to just swim around in the ocean. Let's set the size of the turtle to be at 20%. It needs to be quite small to fit out in that ocean. And then the rest of the code is going to fit inside a forever control block. In this block, we're going to get it to go to a random position towards the top and then swim back to a random position towards the bottom. But within that, we need to set some parameters because we don't want it to swim onto the grass or into the sky. Let's start with a motion block that points our turtle in the direction of 90, point to the right. And then we're going to get a glide block. Now, we want this one that has our inputs for X and Y. However, we're going to expand these out to give a range of random choice. Now, the gliding is going to go for 4 seconds. Jump into your operators menu and we're going to drag a pick random operator and drop it into the X coordinate block input and the Y coordinate input. So on the X axis, it can choose anywhere from 155 to 255. And on the Y axis can choose anywhere between minus 155 and minus 50. So that's got it swimming in one direction. We now want the turtle to turn around and swim in the opposite direction. Let's duplicate those last 2 blocks of code that we dropped in and pop them underneath. Oh, don't want that running just yet. I want it now to choose minus 90. We're going to go the other direction. And I'm going to change some of these coordinates as well. So X can go between 95 and 155. Change that one too. And can go between 155 and minus 50 is great. Let's test out our code. Next, we're going to code our cloud sprite. Let's click on the cloud. So again, this is going to start when the green flag is clicked to begin our animation. And we want to position our cloud in a starting spot of X-axis 250 and the Y-axis 150. Now the cloud, if I jump into the costumes tab, I can see that the cloud has different costumes. We're going to use this to create a movement. Let's begin by switching to cloud C. Drag over a repeat block, and we're going to repeat this action 4 times. The first thing that it's going to do is create a clone of itself, so create another one. With this clone, we're going to make it get darker. So we want to change, currently says color effect, but in the drop-down menu, I'm going to choose the brightness. I'm going to change the brightness by -15. So it's going to slowly get a little bit darker to give that idea of those dark clouds rolling in. Now, this bit I want to repeat 4 times, but with the clone, I want it to do something a little bit different. So let's drag in another repeat block and drop it underneath the change brightness one. We're going to add in to get it to move -15 steps. So it's starting on the right side of the screen and moving towards the mountains. Once it's moved 15 steps, let's change to the next costume. And we're going to put in a really small wait time. If we don't have that, it's going to happen really too quickly. So 0.25 seconds. A small wait time before it jumps back, creates the next clone, and that clone will move steps and change costumes, and then the next clone will do it. So let's click our flag and watch it happen. It's our first one moving across. Oh, it changed color. It's a darker one. Those clouds are rolling in. Time now to code our raindrop. Our raindrop is going to use variables to have a really big impact on how we see the rain happen. The variable will give each raindrop a number, and this number will be used to determine the size and the opacity of the raindrop, which will give an effect of a real rainfall happening. Like our other sprites, let's start with the green flag event. And we're going to begin with a particular costume. We jump into the costumes tab. I can see a range of different costumes here that are going to suit our little raindrop. And we are going to start with the costume called Happy. We'll also give it a starting position. The starting position is -180 on the x-axis and -130 on the y-axis. To help tell the animation, we're going to use your voice to record parts of the story. Let's drag across a play sound button, and we're going to record ourselves saying, "It's hot today. It's hot today." Now I can drag these to cut exactly where I want it to. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I'm going to save that. Make sure you give it a name. I'm going to call it hot so I remember what this sound is all about. And then back here, I can choose the recording hot that it's going to play until it's done. Got my raindrop, move to its starting position. Now, as it is doing this, I want it to move like it's traveling along the river and out into the ocean. Let's drag a glide block, but with this one, we're going to use this first one. We're going to glide 3 seconds and not to a random position. We're going to glide to the turtle. So wherever that turtle sprite is on the ocean, the water drop is going to glide towards it. Okay. Now we want it, when it gets there, let's do a switch costume. Oh, not backdrop. Switch costume to, oh. And this is where we're going to make it start going up into the sky like it's being evaporated. So let's glide for 2 seconds. On the x-axis to 70 and the y-axis, let's do -20. Time to now record ourselves with another sound. So let's click on record, and you're going to record yourself saying, "I'm evaporating." So cut it so that it's sort of in the right spot and give it a name, evaporating, so that I know which voice I've got. Let's choose it here, play sound evaporating. And to finish that off, so we were here, it's glided up 2 seconds. It says, "I'm evaporating." We want it to glide up to the clouds. So let's grab another motion block that will glide it for 2 seconds I'm going to glide to the clouds sprite. Okay, doing pretty well here. Our next one more recording that we're going to do. Let's record our voice and we're going to say, "Hi friends, it's a bit cold up here." Let me cut that so it's appropriate and give it a name. So let's play sound friends until done. Now here, when the raindrop has met up with the clouds and all of his other raindrop friends up there, we're going to send a broadcast because this is a point in the project where we're going to have some other sprites respond and to know when to start an action. Let's create a new message called rain. We want it to start raining. Now's the time to test your project out and see how it goes. Now that we have our raindrop having its journey, going through evaporation and meeting up to form the clouds, we want the precipitation to happen, the rain. So here we sent a broadcast of rain. Let's tell our raindrop what to do when it receives that message. So when I receive rain, I'm actually going to tell our sprite to hide away, and we're going to repeat 75 times, create a clone of myself. What this will do is create 75 little sprites of the raindrop on our screen. Let's code each of those cloned projects. Each of our clones needs to be programmed about what we want it to do. So let's jump into that now. Start with the event from the control menu when I start as a clone. The first thing we want it to do is to switch its costume, because the costume needs to drop back to the raindrop. We don't want this big smiley one or this one going, "Oh, I'm going up." We want it to revert back to the raindrop. Once it's on that costume, it's ready to show on the screen. Now, we're going to add in a variable here. So let's make a variable and we'll call it raindrop. It's really important here that you tick or you select the box for this sprite only. We don't want this to apply to the other sprites, and click OK. Okay, now my raindrop has appeared here. I'm actually going to hide that from the screen. I don't want to see it. Now that I've got that, I can set my raindrop to, now in this input section, go and choose a pick random operator and leave it as picking a random number between 1 and 10. So each raindrop as it appears as a clone will be given a number of 1 to 10. And this number is going to determine what it looks like. So this code gets a little bit complex and uses some of our math skills. So I'm just going to increase my screen size to hopefully help you see it better. So our first one, we're going to use that random number that has been applied to the raindrop to determine its size. So drag across a set size block to 100%. And from the operator, I want you to drag across the multiplication operator. So it's going to multiply two numbers that we put in as a percent. On the left-hand side from your variables menu, we're going to drag in raindrop. Now remember, it gets white around where it's going to drop it, so make sure you do it, raindrop. And we're going to multiply that raindrop number by 2%. So this will determine its size. So a raindrop that is 10 multiplied by 2% will be a different size to a raindrop that is 2 multiplied by 2%. So our lower number drops will be smaller in size and our higher number drops will be larger in size. The next one is to also then change what we call the ghost effect. So this is whether we see a really strong blue or a really light blue color on our raindrop. Let's go back into our looks menu, and we're going to choose the one that currently says set color effect. I'm going to change color to ghost effect. Set the ghost effect. I actually need to drop 2 operators in here to be able to ensure we get to the correct amount. So the first operator I want you to drop in is the one with the minus symbol in it. And then on the right-hand side, we're also going to drop a multiplication one in onto that right side. So now we've got 3 inputs that we're going to have. We go back into our variables menu and grab that raindrop number it's been given. We need to pop it in the very middle input. So we're going to do the raindrop number and multiply it by 10. So remember, it's been given a number from 1 to 10, and we're going to multiply that from 1 to 10. On this side, we're going to start with 100. The block we've just created sets the ghost effect. A larger number will mean that the color is more faded on our raindrop. So to work out the ghost value, the program will start with 100. It will then minus the random number that has been applied to the raindrop multiplied by 10. So a random raindrop that has been given the number of 3 will get a ghost effect of 70. So it'll be getting quite see-through. Whereas a clone that's given the number of 6 will only have a ghost effect of 40, so not as see-through. This will help show which drops are closer to the screen to the ones that we want to give the effect are further away in the project. Now that we've set up the color effect and the size of the raindrops, it's time to have them moving on the screen. They're going to start in a position, so let's grab a go to. We don't want all of the raindrops to start in exactly the same position, the same height of the screen, absolutely, but not the same spot across the screen. So in the x-axis, let's drag across a pick random, and we can choose anywhere between minus 230 and 230. So anywhere across the top of the screen, and 180 on the y-axis is going to get them starting up the very top. Now that they're there, we want them to fall on the screen. Let's add in a control of repeat until. Ooh, now, I don't want this one here with the number because I actually want to put an operator into this to control what's happening. So I'm going to scroll down the screen a little bit, and I want this one here, repeat until. To control the effect of the raindrop falling from the sky, we want it to repeat a movement of going down the y-axis until it hits a certain point. We're going to take across a less than operator and pop it in here. So in the motion menu, if we scroll down, we will find Y position that we can drop into the left side here. So repeat until the Y position is less than minus 160. So until it reaches that point of minus 160 or more on the y-axis, we want it to change Y. Now, normally, we just put a number in here. However, we're going for the real animation effect. So the clones that are larger and darker, that are giving us the illusion that they're closer to the front of the screen, we want them to fall faster than those clones that are smaller and faded and seem further away. We want them to go more slowly. To do that, go back to your operators and let's grab that multiplication one again. And we want to change Y by -1, but multiplied by the number of that raindrop. When it reaches the bottom, we want it to switch costume to happy. Then we're going to wait 0.2 seconds, so just a little fraction of time, we're going to tell it to create a new clone of itself and then delete this clone. So what we will have is 75 clones on the screen falling at random times. When it hits the bottom, it will create a new one to start up the top, but delete itself. So let's test it out. That looks so good. Now we have 3 algorithms here that are controlling our sprite. 1, what to do when the green flag is clicked. 1, what to do when it receives rain, telling it to create those clones of itself. And then what to do when it starts as a clone. We now need to tell it what to do when it's time for the rain to finish. Rain doesn't go on continually, so we're going to tell it what to do. As the rain is falling, we need to show that those clouds are disappearing. So let's jump back to our cloud sprite. And we're going to tell it what to do. When that broadcast of rain is sent, it's going to respond to that as well. So choose when I receive rain. We're going to add in a repeat control block. We want this to repeat 8 times. We're going to change its ghost effect. So grab across a change, move color to be ghost, and we're going to change it by -10 each time. We're then going to wait 2 seconds before it comes back and repeats it again. And this is going to give the effect that those clouds are slowly dissipating, the rain has fallen, and those clouds are going to be done. We now need to send a broadcast because that rain is finished. Let's create a new message called no rain. If the clouds are gone, there's no more raindrops up there ready to come down, we need our rain to stop falling, and this broadcast is what will control that. Underneath this broadcast, we're going to finish off those clouds. So let's grab across another repeat, but only 2 times this time. I'm just going to duplicate these 2 blocks inside, change that ghost effect by -10, and wait 2 seconds, and this will give the illusion that the clouds have disappeared completely off our screen. Let's jump back to the raindrop and tell it what to do when it receives the broadcast of no rain. Let's add in another sound because we love recording our voices. We are going to make a new recording and we're going to say, I've been collected by the ocean. Let our raindrop know that it's called collected. That will help me remember. Let's select collected here. The raindrops have gone down into the ocean to jump back into the water. Once it's done that, we also need those to disappear. I'm going to add in a repeat control block. And again, we're going to grab that ghost effect block. We're going to change the ghost effect by 10. I'm going to make it fade away. Once we've done that, I'm going to jump back into the control section and we want to stop. And from that drop-down menu, I want you to choose other scripts in Sprite. So any of those scripts that tell it to create a new clone of itself, those are going to be stopped so we don't have more clones being created. Let's then give it a few seconds for it to take effect because our raindrops will all be falling at different times, and we will finish with a stop all. It's now time to test your code and see if there's any little changes you want to make to the timing and the effects. We can now move on to an optional extra to help add a little bit more to your animation. At the moment, when your rain is falling, it's still as bright on the screen as it is on a bright sunny day. We can change that to make it look more realistic for what it would feel like if a rainstorm was forming and then it was raining. If we click on the stage area, we have the option to add some coding blocks that sit here. Let's start with the event when I receive rain. We're going to grab a repeat block and just repeat these actions 5 times. With the backdrop, we are going to change the brightness by -10, each of those 5 repeats that we're going to do. And in between them, we're going to wait 0.5 seconds. So when that rain function is starting and gathering and coming down, the screen is going to slowly get darker. Let's now, I might duplicate that entire algorithm, but when I receive no rain, it's finished raining, we want the screen to get brighter. So let's just remove the minus there and we'll change it by 10 and we'll slowly get it back. Test your code and see how it goes now. What a cute animation you've created. There are lots of things that humans do that impact the water cycle, runoff from farms and creeks into the waterways, rubbish, pollution. The water cycle does happen slightly differently in different environments as well. So the next step of the project is completely up to you. How are you going to share the information that you've learned with people who come and view your project? While we're in the stage area, if you jump into the backdrops tab, you will see a range of different backdrops. So perhaps your animation is now going to go and explore a different environment and you're going to be able to share your information that way. Perhaps now that the animation has taken part, you're going to add in some form of gamification. Another option in your project is to create a call to action to others. What can we do to ensure that we don't interrupt the water cycle and we can provide clean waterways for our animals? Can't wait to see what you do with your projects, and I really do hope that you ask an adult to share them back to us here at Moonhack headquarters. Also, make sure you are registered and you receive your certificate for taking part. Happy coding, everyone.